Hi everyone, I thought I would do the tag of 15 things you may or may not know about me. Since it seems to be bouncing around in a lot of people's, I thought I would do the same since it's kind of a fun way to get to know people a little bit. So anyways, number one, I was an Air Force brat. I grew up in the military. My dad went in the military right after I was born. I was born in Ely, Minnesota, but I didn't live there very long. I have lived many places and went to, I don't know, every couple of years I moved. We lived in Germany for 5 years, which was kind of fun. I was like 9 to 14 when we lived there. So anyways, moved around a lot, and that's something about me. Let's see, number two, I have 4 dogs, 3 cats, and 3 rabbits, and 3 kids living in my house. So I am an animal freak, and that was, you know, this is actually not a lot of animals compared to what I've had in the past. I actually used to show collies years ago. That's where my Nadura comes from. The Nadura is my kennel name from my collies. It actually means natural in Scottish Gaelic. And I picked it, I don't know, some odd 18 years ago, whatever, when I had my first collie that I put my name on. So that's just where that came from. I have one sister who lives in Texas. She is 2 years older than me and has 2 kids that are, you know, in between my kids, kind of. My son is 20. Her son is 17. And then I have a daughter who's 16. She has a daughter who's 13. And then I have my littlest daughter who's 7. Let's see. When I was number 4, everybody has imaginary friends when they're a kid. My imaginary friends were all animals. All of them were animals. And they used to go everywhere with me. They would run along the car. And I had little descriptions of everyone. I've been an animal freak since the day I was born. So that's just I never had people for imaginary friends. When I was in high school, I was in a clogging group. This is number 5. I was in a clogging group, which is, I lived in St. Louis for about 10 years. When I was, my first 3 years of high school, I lived there, east of there in Illinois, and I was in a clogging group. That is, basically it's square dancing, and you add a tap step to it while you're square dancing, and we used to do it to more modern music. There was all ages in there. Most of them were high school or college age, but there was some younger kids and some adults that also did there. We went around and did exhibitions at, you know, Mayfests or state fairs, and sometimes we went to nursing homes and entertained those people, or you know, just different events. So anyways, that was my thing I did in high school. I didn't do, you know, any kind of sport or anything other than this was my thing. It wasn't part of the school. It was outside of the school. Lots of different people from lots of different schools went there. And they're still around. They're called the Cadence Cloggers, still around. I don't know how many exhibitions they do anymore, but they're still around. I'm just not living in that area, so I don't go there anymore, but I'm still friends with a lot of people that were in that group. I went to college in St. Louis and to Washington University. I have a BFA, which is Bachelor of Fine Arts in Graphic Design. That's been my degree. I haven't really had a job that paid. I have done tons of graphic design over the years. I do logos for people all the time and programs, and you know, I've helped like freelancing, mostly either for trade or for volunteering. I haven't really made money doing this job very much. I did a little bit early on when I first graduated, but then I was home with my kids, so I just sort of ended up the one that did a bunch of stuff. So that's one of my goals, is eventually I'd like to get into that. Right now I'm grooming dogs for money. That's what I make my, you know, if I make any kind of a steady income, it's grooming dogs a couple days a week. So eventually I'd like to get back into graphic design as far as a job goes, but that's coming down the road. Maybe once I lose all my weight, I'll have more confidence and I'll just bite the bullet and go out there and look for a different job. I met my husband in college. We met my second year of college, his first year of college. We're only like a month and a half apart age-wise, but I was a year ahead of him in school. And we lived in the same dorm building. I was at one end of the hall. He was at the mirror image other end of the hall in the same floor. And that's how we met. And we've been married for 23 years, but we were together for 3 years before that. So it's 26 years that we've been together. So it's been a long time, and you know, we've been happily married since then, and that was the best thing that came out of college. I don't know if my degree I've actually used as much as I could have, but you know, there was definitely good things that happened because of college. Let's see, that was number 7 that I met my husband in college. Number 8 I already told you about, that I lived in St. Louis area for 10 years. I lived in Belleville for my first 3 years of high school, and then we were moved to New Mexico for my last year of high school. But then I came back to St. Louis for college and went to WashU and lived in the dorms for 3 years in an apartment around there. WashU's like in St. Louis, kind of west of the main downtown area. You know, it's in a suburb of St. Louis. So I lived there, and then, you know, we lived in Clayton and other places in that same area until after I got married, and then we moved out here. My husband grew up in Littleton, Colorado. So we moved out to Colorado about 19 years ago, and my oldest child was a year old, and we've lived there ever since. Let's see. Number 9, I love snow. Snow I love, which is a good thing. Although we don't get as much snow here as people would think. The mountains might get snow, and we don't get snow down here because I'm about an hour east of Denver. It's kind of south and east of Denver. It's kind of a higher elevation here than Denver. A good, 500 to almost 1,000 feet higher. So sometimes Denver will get rain and we'll get snow. But I love snow. To me, it's relaxing. It's calming. I like it because it just seems like everything is quiet and calm and peaceful. I don't particularly like driving in it, but it's really, you get used to it and you just learn to drive slow and not drive when it's really deep. So that was number 9. Number 10, I don't like people that treat me different in different situations. I don't trust people. If they treat me one way when we're in one situation and another way in another situation. The people I trust and care about the most and are the most interested in being around are people that treat me the same no matter where I run into them. If I run into them at school or run into them something through the kids or something through Walmart or wherever, they always treat me the same. So that's the kind of person I like. I have been a General Hospital fan since I was 13, 12 or 13, somewhere in there. Might have been a little younger. My sister got me started when we lived in Germany, actually, and kept pulling me in the summertime, and I had a friend who was into it, and I have watched it ever since. And I still record it today. I'm, of course, like right now, I'm like a month behind. I have like 28 episodes that I haven't watched yet, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on this past couple of weeks. It's one of those things I record, and then if I have a sick day, I can sit home and just sort of veg out on and catch up on episodes. Number 12, I love living on a dirt road. I live on a dirt road, and yes, it's dusty, and we get more dusty in our house, but there's something I love about it that just makes me feel, like I'm in the country. I'm not that far away from the city. We have a Walmart 10 minutes away. It's not a big Walmart, and and 20 minutes away we have, a fairly busy town that has Walmarts and Targets and, other shops and things like that. So we're not way out in the way, but living on a dirt road makes me feel like we are. I have a phobia, number, 13? Yeah, 13. I have a phobia about breathing. Mostly I think my fear is like drowning and being underwater. I panic when I get underwater too deep. But I have a breathing phobia, like suffocation phobia. I just seem to panic a little bit, like, even coming out of anesthesia. I think that was part of why I was kind of a freak when I first came out of anesthesia, was that whole breathing thing. So anyways, that's one of my phobias. Number 14, I have a super smart son that is going to Colorado School of Mines. He is in, he called it Applied Statistics, which is basically math applied to science is what it sounds like. So he's a big math and science dude. Very smart, and I'm very proud of him. And let's see, number 15 kind of has lots of different levels. Both of my daughters are in gymnastics, and I'm very proud of both of them. But I have a especially big brag this past week that has to do with my daughter's high school gymnastics team, which we are in Elizabeth, which is a small town, not a very big town. And we won, our girls, our high school team, gymnastics team, won state in the 4A class. Their schools are categories by how big they are. We're actually a 3A, a smaller school, which is a 3A class school, but there's no gymnastics in the 3A schools. There's no other 3A schools doing gymnastics. But there's a bunch of 4A schools that do gymnastics. So we are in with the 4A schools, which are, I think, under 2,000 students. We are smaller than most of those schools. And we won state today, this last Friday, for the third time in the last 4 years. Very proud of them. My daughter's a junior, and she was with them 2 years ago when they won state. They didn't win state, they got second last year. And she was with them 2 years ago when they won state, but she didn't compete at state. She was JV at the time. So this year she's a junior and she got to do varsity, and she did varsity on all 4 events. And then she qualified on 3 of those events to go to the event finals, which were Saturday. And at event finals, she had her highest score ever in bars, vault, and floor, and placed 5th on vault and 6th on floor, which were her 2 actually weakest events of the season. So she just took off on those 2 events at the end. So anyways, that was fun. Really exciting weekend. Had a lot of fun. The girls got a limo ride this morning to the school with the fire truck escort making lots of noise as they came into the school, and all the school came out and they greeted them, and they, you know, the band played music as they came in. So it was just sort of the assembly of champions, and that was a lot of fun. It's just a fun little memory, and I'm really proud of them. And you know, it's been something that takes over our lives. I'm the vice president of the Booster Club. We are a small group. It's only 15 girls on the team, and so we all do a lot of work to keep our girls going all season long. So it's just fun to see it all work out and have them get to win state again. So anyways, that is about all I have for my 15 things about what people may or may not already know about me. So it's been good to chat with everyone, and I'll see you all later.